Everyone who's played Persona 5 and its royal variants know that confidants are massive game changers that vastly change your entire journey. But that doesn't mean all of them are worth your time, and I wanted to talk about them for a video. And here we are. Hey y'all, Crimson here once more, and we're going to talk about something that I haven't done since that one Pokemon spin-off video I made a long time ago. Man, time has flied since then, huh? Gained a lot of subs, met some new cool people, and now that I look at it again, it's gotten a copyright claim. Maybe I should remake it someday. Thoughts for later. Before we begin, I want to add something to this list. No canon confidant increases, or, those that result in the secret ending for Royal, since we're going to be solely focusing on that one. Those are more on the mandatory side of things that players will either get without choice, or hunt down first to see the new content if they played the OG like I did. So I want to focus solely on all the others. With that out of the way, remember to like and sub, and let's get started. I wanted to start off the list with not only one of the most useful confidants in the game, but what might be my favorite confidant in the entire game. Mishima's confidant is probably one of the more unique ones in the game, as unlike other confidants where you spend time with the character and bond with them to reach the next rank, Mishima's rank only really increases by doing several of the side jobs he either sends to you throughout the game or you do through side quests. It's an interesting but very fun concept that gives you more of a reason to even do those side jobs, other than just giving you some extra stuff to do and get some extra items. Along with the uniqueness of his confidant comes his unique abilities. Unlike a lot of other confidants which are more focused on helping you with combat, Mishima's abilities are solely tied to experience. His unlocks are things like increasing how much experience you and your party members will receive in battle, or increasing how much EXP your back party members gain as well. It's a very useful ability, not only due to the fact that increasing your benched party members makes it easier to bring them into battle for late games, and the increase to your active party members makes grinding far less of a chore. First one to make our worst list is the fortune-telling maiden Chihaya. I think I pronounced that right? I'm not sure. Now, before I get into her weak points, I want to state that she does have a use, as visiting her can get you one free point towards a confidant without sacrificing time out of your day. But outside of that, she doesn't exactly offer much else really worth pursuing. Her storyline is interesting, and does offer a good amount of side quests to indulge in, but the abilities she offers you aren't really worth much other than the affinity reading skill, which can help you deepen bonds with a confidant of your choice, but every other ability is kinda just done better by someone else. An example of this is the money reading skill, which will increase your money, as you could probably guess. But it can be reached with pretty much the same amount by mixing Ryuji's insta-kill skill with Jose's, or Josie's, or whatever he goes by, stamp collection to rack up both money, items, and experience at the same time. She's certainly not the worst, but her rewards aren't really super worth seeking out. The number 4 spot is gonna have to go to the best dad in Persona 5, Sojiro. After all, the man deserves it. Jokes aside, Sojiro's confidants is honestly one of the single most useful in terms of palace and grind potential. You see, unlike someone like Mishima, whose talents lie in increasing XP, or most of the other party members who result in boosting your combat experiences, Sojiro's rewards are more built towards SP recovery. For those who don't know, SP, or as I like to call it, soul power, is what you party members use to cast all of your magic-based spells to completely destroy your enemies. But one thing to note about SP is that unlike health, there are very, very few ways to recover it other than a few, honestly, pretty rare items. So most of the time, you're going to have to leave the level in order to get all of your SP back, and this causes you to lose out on a day. Sojiro lets you change that with the ability to make both coffee and curry that restore SP in the dungeons. The downside being that it takes up an evening to make, but it is so worth it as it severely reduces the amount of time you have to leave palaces to recover SP. It just kind of sucks that you can't reach rank 10 until you get Futaba into your party. But when you do, get ready to channel your inner barista. You want the ladies to love you, don't you? Now learn those beans. Okay, so I was kind of debating whether or not to even add in the teammate confidants. And after a bit, I realized that A, just because they're teammates doesn't mean that I shouldn't include their confidants. And B, some of these confidants are pretty good, and some are kinda nothing burgers, so why not just add them? And now here we are with me talking about On. And On's confidants are pretty much the definition of the nothing burger thing I mentioned. Now, with On, it's not a matter of it being a worthless confidant like some of the others on this list. It's just basically bare bones. If you haven't played it, or if you have played it and never really worked on On's confidants, pretty much every single playable member of the Phantom Thieves will give you an extra ability to utilize outside of their standard unlocks. Yusuke gives you the ability to create more skill cards, we'll get to him later. Haru gives you vegetables to eat, and Futaba, well, like Yusuke, we'll get to her later. With On, however, you don't get anything like that with her confidant. It's just a bunch of the same generic stuff you get with every other character, without anything else as a bonus to it. It really makes her stand out in how meh it is in comparison to everyone else's. It's also real weird considering she's one of your first ever party members, and they just don't give her anything. Since we're on the topic of party members, let's use this next spot to talk about one of the most useful ones now. Now, unlike every other party member in the game, Futaba never fights anyone, which makes sense considering she's your navigator and all. So, as a result, almost all her confidant rank ups are tied to supporting the party, from recovering health to boosting your stats, or just straight up giving you a free hold up right at the start of the battle. These boosts really help with your dungeon crawling experience. Adding on to this are all the abilities she has that makes Mementos traversal much easier, such as giving you a free complete floor of the area, which allows you to reach the exit in an instant, along with the ability to bring back all of the items you picked up before, which combined with Jose's stamp abilities, allow for you to farm items like crazy. Both of these are both definite reasons why you should increase this rank. Plus, it doesn't hurt that Futaba's confidant rank is one of the most interesting, funny, and emotional in the game. So there's also that too. Yeah, I wasn't super sure if I wanted to include this one as well, as it was a very hit or miss concept for me, but after a few days of thinking about it, I decided that EY does kind of belong on the worst list. Again, he's not bad. Truthfully, I don't think pretty much any of these are just bad, I just think they're worse than the ones that are good. And EY does have some uses with his firearm customization, but to be honest, he comes with some problems. The first is, you can't really start his confidant until you reach Dauntless rank. And that takes a long time, considering several of the other confidants you want to start with are already able to start, and you can even spend some time in between said confidants grinding. Here, you want to start them, you gotta get to the fucking Dauntless rank. And that's kind of annoying in all honesty. Plus, by the time you get to Dauntless, you're probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 palaces in, and have enough of a gameplay loop where his customization really isn't going to change anything. It'll be helpful, sure, but everything you can do with a gun, you can pretty much just do with a persona. Or by this point, you've unlocked something that'll help the character do that. He takes too long to start up, and all of his abilities are just done by personas or thinking up some crazy tactic. And sadly, yeah, it kind of sucks because he's probably one of my favorite confidants in the game. He's a really interesting character with a cool storyline. I just don't think his abilities are super worth focusing on grinding your guts up to Dauntless to get. And that's what kind of sucks about it. Of course Shinya was gonna make the list of bests. You think the goddamn Get Smoked kid is gonna go anywhere else but here? In all seriousness, it's kinda insane how broken a lot of Shinya's gun-based skills are. From the downshot ability, which actually allows you to automatically down a single enemy, which can later be upgraded up to 3 times, to the bullet hail skill that gives you a free gun-based all-out attack upon a successful ambush, which can also be upgraded to deal even more damage to the point where you drain half a Shadow's health with it. And even gain a skill which lets you bypass resistances with gun damage, which basically lets your gun damage almost every single Shadow in the game, minus the ones that have null encounter to it, of course. This becomes a massive boost to your combat prowess as you max out Shinya's Confidant. It, alongside this, opens up a well of gun-based abilities that feel just the best to unleash on all of your enemies, minus the ones that can't get hurt by it, of course. Okay, so this was a really tough choice to make, as even now I'm still kind of debating whether or not to include Yusuke on this list or not. But after some thought, I've decided to add him to the list, solely due to the fact that his abilities aren't really super useful. They are helpful if you go looking for them, sure, but it's better than the absolute nothing that On gives you. But at the same time, they are pretty underwhelming in terms of unlocks. Like, the duplication of spell cards has its uses, but if you know what you're doing in terms of Persona Fusion, his special unlock feels less and less special the more you really think about it. Why grind it out when fusing personas together in the Velvet Room yields an easier, more satisfying, and sometimes even more beneficial result? I do, however, see the pros of growing this confidant as a whole, with said cards offering a chance to give you a quick debuff or healing ability, plus the add-on of super effective attacks. But all of these can be easily handled by just going to the Velvet Room. So Yusuke sadly enters this solely due to being offered a more helpful option in the form of the Velvet Room. But no matter what I had to say about this one, he's nothing compared to just how absolutely worthless our number 1 pick is. But that's for a bit later. So, for the last pick of this list, I had decided to lump both of these confidants together, considering my praises both actually align with what they bring to the table in terms of what may be the single most useful element to combat: the persona itself. For Yoshida, his confidant allows negotiations to net you things like more money, better items, and most importantly of all, the ability to recruit personas far easier. Hell, his rank 10 gives you the ability to just straight up make contracts with personas that are at an even higher level than you. And then there's Justine and Coraline. Or Caroline. Whatever, alright? We had this problem before, we're not focusing on it. Which instead tie into improving your Velvet Room experience, with adding on the ability to fuse more and more personas together to create an unstoppable force of nature that'll destroy everything in your path. Hell, their 5th rank gives you the ability to just straight up buy higher level personas, so you don't have to constantly spend hours upon hours grinding mementos for the various palaces. And combining with the ability Yoshida gives you, can create a loop of getting powerful personas through negotiation, and then dropping a little extra cash to fuse them into an absolute juggernaut of pure and total destruction. And then using them to basically tear apart every enemy in your way. It makes for quite a satisfying loop of destruction and death for anyone stupid enough to even think of challenging you. If I'm being honest, I think either of them could have made this spot on their own, but when combined together, they create something that truly feels unbeatable. Yeah, this really shouldn't come as much as a surprise to you if you have spent any amount of time in just the Persona 5 fandom. The Oya Confidant is infamous among fans for not only being a bunch of pretty worthless abilities, but it comes packaged with one of the most uninteresting side stories in the game. But we're not going to talk about the side stories. We're going to solely focus on the abilities. So, what abilities does Ouya's Confidant get you? Well, all of her abilities are tied completely to stealth, and I mean all of them. Every reward you get for progressing through her Confidant is a new way to lower your stealth at palaces. A neat sounding thing for an ability, until you realize two major things. One, you can easily lower stealth in palaces by just simply defeating enemies, using the very easy to make smokescreen item, or just straight up leaving the palace and coming back, making it already a null skill set. And two, it's honestly much more of a challenge raising the palace to such a level where these kinds of items and skills are needed. You have to be pretty terrible to even reach that point at all. Like, the only times I've ever remembered reaching that was in the Futaba Palace, where I would leave and an enemy would just be standing there. It's like the equivalent of playing a game with your eyes closed bad. It may seem like I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm really not. You really have to just have either the worst luck in the world or totally suck ass in order to even get over 40% in any of the palaces at all, with how easy it is to lower your danger levels. As a result, Ouya's Confidant is rendered completely pointless, and that is why she is the #1 worst Confidant in the game. Every single one of her abilities and skills is completely pointless due to you not once ever reaching a point in the game where you need them in any way whatsoever. And that is the end of the video. If you all enjoyed the content, do me a favor and like and sub to the channel. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me on this much longer than usual video, and I hope you all have a pleasant tomorrow. See ya for the next video.